The sun. On the next Mystic Fix, we're going to be talking about the sun card, and we're going to put the spotlight on paranormal investigations. Hope you'll join us.
Mystic Fix, a program for the whole being with Julia Gordon-Bramer on NewsTalkSTL.
Welcome to Mystic Fix. I'm Julia Gordon-Bramer. I'm an author, I'm a scholar of mysticism, and a professional tarot card reader. Today's episode, we're going to talk about the sun card. This is a card of joy. It's well timed with the summer solstice as it's just beginning for us here. It spotlights on celebrations and sometimes masculine energy because the sun is tied to the god Apollo. During COVID, I saw the sun card a lot as a problem, which would be in reverse, upside down as it faces me. I thought, why would this be a problem for almost everyone? And then I put it together that we get the word corona and coronavirus from the sun. Also interesting is the sun card is number 19 in the tarot, like COVID-19. So the universe is always giving me really interesting surprises and new things to learn. Today's spotlight is on paranormal investigations with Ryan Mockman. And in part 2, we'll talk with Jason Mankey about the sun's masculine energy and the horned god. For now, let's meet Ryan. Ryan Mockman, I'm really happy to have you. I met you on Twitter, and you're a spirit communicator and paranormal investigator from San Antonio, Texas. So welcome to Mystic Fix.
Well, thank you very much, and thank you for having me, Julia.
You bet. And you know, I think it bears mentioning that you did not want to be seen because you've had some hard times with people who kind of mock this sort of thing,
Well,
or
not so much that. Way before I started doing this, I accrued some interestingly obsessive people. So I just tried to keep my presence on social media to a minimum.
Yeah. Okay. I respect that. And so you've always been intrigued at the prospect of utilizing technology to converse with spirits. Now, I had an author, maybe a few weeks ago, a little more than that, Peter Berbegal, who wrote a book called Strange Frequencies about just what you do and working with people who use all of these spirit boxes and various things. You were dissatisfied with the spirit box. And first of all, why don't you explain what a spirit box is?
Sure. Basically, it entails the use of either a physical, actual spirit box. A lot of times those involve the use of hacked radio signals, AM and FM frequencies that are being swept at a fast rate of pace. That's one way to use a spirit box. Mm-hmm. Another way, and the one that I prefer, and the one that I use during my sessions, is an application on my phone.
Okay.
And I've actually created that app, and I'll go into that a little bit more in a minute. But the app on the phone can either scan internet radio in the same way that they scan AM and FM frequencies on a physical spirit box, or sometimes they often pull from a bank of words. Okay. And you can probably already tell why that might be problematic, because there's a high chance of a false positive coming through if you're using radio frequencies. It could be interview chatter. It could be a song. It could be a whole lot of different things. And in the last couple of years, there have been a few pretty good spirit boxes that have come on the market that use phonetic sounds as opposed to actual human speech. I mean, it's still human speech, but it's just the phonetic sounds, like that sort of thing. But even those don't work so well, I found, simply because there's not a lot of phonetic meat from which spirits can pull responses. You want to give them a lot to pull from.
It was explained to me by author Peter Berbegal that spirits don't have mouths, right. And so they have to kind of commandeer what we've already got in the air. That's how he explained it. They sort of
and I agree with that. It's absolutely true. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, interesting. So let's talk just for a second a little bit more about what you do. I mean, when I found you, I would see all of these graveyard posts basically, and you're walking through numerous graveyards and a lot of, mostly very old, right? I think you're not so much looking at the more recent burials. You're going back 100 years or more. And you'll throw out a question or you'll ask for something and listen, and depending on what gadget you have in your hands, and I know you've got hours and hours of these recordings, you get some pretty interesting things back. Let's listen to one of them.
Okay, you want me to call the light down for you now? Are we at that point? Okay, light, help. So you're at that point. You want me to help?
What yes, hidden object.
What's it like for you when you're doing this? Do you have any sort of sensory feelings outside of this box that you're holding?
Yes, absolutely. Sometimes it hits me right at the beginning of the session. Sometimes it takes a little while for that to happen. But quite often I find it starts in my spine, believe it or not. It starts sort of in my lower spine and kind of crawls up. And it often seems to take my breath away just a little bit. I mean, I'm not out of breath, but there's a sense that it's a little bit of a struggle to start breathing. And I'm not entirely sure why that is. I think it might be, spirits need energy to manifest. And so they could potentially be pulling some energy from me in order to do that.
So do you think it's almost a kind of a possession?
I don't really see it.
Too big of a word?
Personally. I just see it as them taking a little bit of energy from me, what they need in order to speak, in order to communicate. It doesn't really feel like I'm being possessed. It just doesn't quite feel that way to me.
Yeah. So one of the things that interested me about your recordings is occasionally there's very dramatic, almost like music with these,
Yeah, and I can't. Yeah, it's sort of like a sing-songy kind of way they speak sometimes. And I can't quite figure out what that is or why it happens, because the device I'm using, which I helped build from the ground up with a friend of mine, does not include any music. It doesn't include any of songs. It's basically a few millisecond long chopped up bits of speech that I've sampled from various sources, some in public places, some from TV, but they're just milliseconds long. They're not actual words, and there's no music at all. I would know because I was the guy who, compiled all the recordings, but why that
So
is.
the spirits have like this bank of samples is what you're saying.
Right.
And
it's approximately 30,000 at this point that they're pulling from.
Let's take a listen.
If you have a conversation with me, I'd appreciate it. Is it okay that I try to
Right now, we predicts his presence.
How interesting.
And
so I have to ask, have you ever used this outside of a graveyard?
yes, I have. The reason I tend to go to graveyards is because it's mainly practical. When I'm there, there's a good chance I won't be disturbed by anybody else. There's a lot of haunted places, a lot of active places like churches and hospitals and houses and whatnot. But telling everyone to clear out so that I can do a session can be kind of a challenge. So I find it a lot easier just to go to some place like a graveyard that's not heavily populated. There's not a good chance of someone coming to visit. And I can focus my energy, focus on the session, and go from there without any kind of, without being bothered, essentially.
Yeah. So let's talk about the different instruments you use. You've got a list here that you gave me, the Paranormal music box called the Polter Tune,
Right.
an SLS Connect Camera, a teddy bear. Why don't you talk about all of these?
Sure. Those are three of my most favorite ones. The one you've probably seen a couple of times on Twitter is the Polter Tune, the music box. And that is essentially, it's just like it sounds. It's a music box, just like an old school music box, but it has a sensor at the end with a motion detector beam. And it will only start chiming if something moves and breaks the beam in front of it.
Okay, let's check out the Poltertune track.
It's okay, my friend. Can you do it again? Thank you. Was it you who moved the doorstop? If it was, can you chime it again? Please chime it if you move the doorstops. This is great. Thank you. So are you, how many spirits are here? If there's one spirit, please chime it. Okay, are you a man? Are you the preacher?
So it's a really good trigger object. A lot of spirits seem drawn to the box. Maybe they grew up with music boxes. Maybe they're just intrigued at the idea of being able to manipulate something and make a song. But quite often I've seen other people use it. They'll put it, for example, in a room on a table or something, and then they'll walk out. And if it starts chiming, they'll come back in and do an investigation there. But I find the best use for it is as a yes or no trigger object, where I'll put it like on a tombstone, for example, and I'll explain to the spirit how it works. And if they want to answer yes to my question, they can chime the box. If the answer is no, they don't chime the box. And I think a good example would be about a week ago. I was in Huntsville, Texas, at a prison cemetery. It's actually Captain Joe Bird Prison Cemetery. And it's home to some rather unsavory people, one of whom is Henry Lee Lucas, the serial killer.
Ooh.
And I felt a definite energy at his grave. I placed the Poltertune down, explained how it worked, and I believe I captured about 5 minutes or so of an interaction with him, whereby I would ask a question. If his answer was yes, the box would chime. If his answer was no, it wouldn't chime. And that was quite something. That was probably the best example of me using that I've done so far.
So when you approach a spirit like that, a notorious person in life anyway, do you think there's redemption for them on the other side? Do you think they have regret, or are they, do you still feel that they're still evil on the other side?
In the case of Henry Lee Lucas, based on how he was answering my questions, I did not get any kind of sense of remorse from him whatsoever.
Wow.
I feel that he believed he deserved to cross over. I don't think that he regretted anything that he did in life. He seemed proud and very narcissistic. He seemed to gloat about what he's notorious for. So in that instance, no, I don't think so.
So he deserved to cross over. So he had not crossed over, is what you're saying, right? Because sometimes you are actively crossing over some of these souls.
It sounds presumptuous for me to believe that, but so many spirits have told me that I could do it that I started trying to help them with that. And I've gotten some really fantastic validations. They've said that they see the light, they're going into the light.
Nice. Here's another recording.
So my friends, can you give me a very clear validation today? Are you wanting to move into the light? Let me know. I want to do this for you.
Yeah.
A little bit more of that Poltertune session with the music box. Specifically light, exactly. I know that you're dead, that's okay, but you can still get that help that you need to cross over. And this is my way of trying to help. I just want to help you so much.
Foreigners are up to help.
Yes, exactly. To help. You're up to the help. Good. Can you tell me exactly what the light is? I know that I have the ability to Do you see the light as every single spirit seems to want that light?
Black light. I just linger.
You'll just linger? That's your prerogative.
Oh, I just got a chill.
It gives me a chill. When that comes through and I hear it in real time, I can't even describe the elation. It's so incredibly gratifying to hear that.
Yeah, I've heard others. I mean, I have not crossed anybody over. I haven't had that experience in my spiritual journey, but I've met many people who have. And I'm not one to, I'm open-minded, and just because I haven't had an experience doesn't mean I don't believe it's possible. So I'm very interested in that. And I've watched enough of your videos now that, at first I was like, okay, well, maybe that was said, or, but after a few of them, you're like, that's pretty interesting. That seems fairly legit. So yeah, anyway, so you talked about the music box, the Polter tune. What is the SLS Connect Camera?
Okay, that's a real interesting one. Are you familiar with the Xbox 360, the video game console that came out probably about, at this point, I guess it was around 2005, 2006?
My sons would be, but not so much me.
Okay, well, the thing with that console is, at the time, the Wii was very popular, the motion control sensors, and the Kinect was a peripheral for the Xbox 360 that was basically Microsoft's answer to the Wii motion controls. But the Kinect was essentially a camera that you would attach to the Xbox, and it would map out your motion. So you actually are the controller. You can wave your hand, move your body, and it actually maps your body on the screen. So there's exercise programs, yoga, all sorts of.
Is this the thing with the dots that show stick figures and everything?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I've seen this on TV. Okay.
Right.
Okay, so you use that as well. I haven't seen any of your videos for that.
Yeah, I don't use that one quite as often. It's very cumbersome in the field. It's very top heavy, and frankly, I'm always afraid that it's going to break. But I captured some pretty cool stuff. One of which was in a mausoleum. I was doing a session in a mausoleum. I had the SLS camera up, and I captured an anthropomorphic figure sitting in one of the pews. I asked it to wave its hand. It did so on command. And at one point, it actually stepped off the pew and started walking towards me. And you could actually see the articulation of the hands and the feet. And it just sort of morphed into me, which was very interesting. And then it went away, and I couldn't get it to come back. So,
are you ever frightened?
No, I really am not. I'm scared to death of ridiculous things like snakes and spiders, but it's not of spirits, and I guess that's good given what I do, or I would be a basket case by now.
You just reminded me of when my then 5-year-old son Sam, he used to watch all the scary movies and he loved them. And then one day we watched Jaws and he couldn't sleep for a week, and he was like, "That's because sharks are real."
That's right. Well, what I told you is 100% true. I was scared to death of the movie Poltergeist. It gave me nightmares for weeks. But
interesting.
I actually credit that film to a small degree, at least, getting me interested in the paranormal.
Cool. What about the teddy bear? Why do you use a teddy bear?
Oh, okay. That was created by a company called Ghost. They make some really fantastic equipment. And I believe it's meant to be a trigger object mainly for child spirits. It's a teddy bear. It's called the Boo Buddy.
I love it.
It does several things. It can ask questions in a child's voice, like, "Can you tell me your name? Can you count to 3? And then the idea is you might capture an EVP if you're using it for that purpose.
And an EVP is an electronic voice
Phenomena. Exactly. Now that's
phenomena. Okay.
Yeah, and it's important to make that distinction. An EVP is not what I do. I do ITC, which stands for instrumental transcommunication.
Okay.
That's where you actually give the spirits the phonetic meat that they need, the chopped up bits of human speech, the phonetic sounds.
Yeah.
Whereas with EVP, you're capturing disembodied voices from thin air. I have captured some EVP, but not nearly to the extent that I've done it with the ITC, and the results aren't nearly as long or impressive.
Now, Ryan, something I've seen on your videos is that the spirits will actually name themselves, which I find really fascinating. You'll be standing there and you'll see the names on the gravestones after you have heard it audibly. Let's take a listen to one of those.
I remember this.
That's just fascinating to me. In the next clip, a spirit tells you his name is Alvin and directs you to the German side of the cemetery. Check it out.
Can you tell me your name, my friends? Can you tell me your name?
Alvin?
Alvin. Okay, hello, Alvin. Is your name Alvin? Is there an Alvin buried here?
German.
German, exactly. I know this is a predominantly German cemetery. Post Oak Cemetery in Seguin. My God, there's Alvin. There's Alvin.
Well, if anyone should doubt you, I mean, first of all, I'd say they should go over to your Twitter, and we'll post that. But you have won the Ghost Augustine's Worldwide Paranormal Evidence Contest, and you've received several prizes, including paranormal equipment and a congratulatory. I can say it. I was so tickled by it. Congratulatory video from Ernie Hudson, who was
Yeah.
Winston in Ghostbusters. That's so cool.
That was a big thrill for me. Absolutely.
Sure, we all grew up with Ghostbusters.
Hi, this is Ernie Hudson, Winston Zedmore from Ghostbusters. Just finished busting some ghosts, but I had to take a moment to give a big shout out to Ryan. Congratulations on winning Ghost Augustine's Paranormal Evidence Contest. Truly, truly amazing.
And incidentally, I found out via social media today that this is International Ghostbusters Day. So
All right, well
How about that?
timed. Yeah, and just we should note, this is not going to air today, but we are recording on June 8th,
okay.
2023. So yeah, we'll be airing in a couple of weeks.
Right.
But Brian, so cool to talk to you, and tell us how people can reach out to you, and how to find you on Twitter as well.
Sure. If you want to reach out to me on Twitter, anyone's welcome, as long as you're open-minded, and most people are so far. You can reach me at Mockman. That's RMACHMAN. That's my handle. And I try to post one new ITC post every weekday. That's my goal. And I believe I've stuck to that for about a year and a half or so now. I don't
Wow.
think there's any duplication. It's a unique video every day. So
That's a lot. That's cool.
all
So
right.
Ryan, thank you so much for your time. Totally appreciate it. It's been a lot of fun, and I will see you on Twitter.
Well, thank you very much, Julia. I really had a great time.
Take care.
All right. Thank you.
That was paranormal investigator Ryan Mockman. Coming up in part 2 of Mystic Fix, author Jason Mankey introduces us to the Horned God. Stay tuned.